Welcome back, everyone, to Chaotic Banter Podcast, episode 12. As you can see, today we have a new guest. Anthony is not able to record with us today, but don't worry, he'll come back eventually. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Vincenzo, and me and Kevin have been, let's say, best friends throughout our time in the American University of Rome.
Yep, we've taken many film classes together and, go over some films and, TV shows and stuff than someone who's been in the same classes as me. All right, so me and Vince, we've watched The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2. So this episode, we're going to be going over The Mandalorian Season 2, all 8 episodes, and, pretty much just go through what we think, what we liked, what we thought was great, the Easter eggs that they showed, and, the future plans of the series.
Very excited for this.
All right, so starting with episode 1, The Marshal, we see Mando returning back after the long-awaited ending of season 1, where, he lands on Tatooine and he's trying to find the other Mandalorians from season 1, correct?
Yes, he was trying to, because in the previous season, it was said that there was another Mandalorian in the planet of Tatooine.
Yes, and it's because of the lady from his faction of Mandalorians said that he needs to find these Mandalorians in order to deliver Grogu to them. Yeah, and I think she mentioned that those Mandalorians know where to find a Jedi, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too.
All right, so then he's on Tatooine, and then he ends up, he's asking around the town. He finds a little town there, asking around if they've seen a Mandalorian. And to his surprise, this is where we see someone wearing Boba Fett's armor. But, everyone's saying, oh, Boba Fett's dead. But, if you're a Legends fan, you know that Boba Fett survived. So, but how Disney, they threw that away. So we're kind of confused at this moment. And it turns out that the person wearing the Boba Fett armor is considered the Marshal, and he's not Mandalorian.
Yes. We can clearly see that Mando was not very keen on meeting the Marshal, especially when he took the helmet off.
Yeah, because I indicated to him that he's not a Mandalorian. And
not a true Mandalorian, exactly.
Yeah. And then he was pretty much saying, give me the armor or I'll kill you right now. I don't remember if the Marshal... Oh, yeah, they show how the Marshal, they explain how he found the armor.
Yes, he did. What's those species called again?
The Jawas.
Yeah. The Jawas kind of saved him because he also stole some crystals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think Jawas, they're very profitable for them. So I don't know what the names are.
I completely forgot. In exchange for those crystals, the Marshal wanted what we all know to be Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah, because with their village, they kept getting attacked by pirates, and he wanted a way to protect the villagers by using the Mandalorian armor.
Mm-hmm.
Mando, he's pretty much telling him, give me the armor or I'm going to kill you. They strike a deal because the village is being attacked by Krayt Dragon. And in order to actually defeat a Krayt Dragon, they need the help of the Tusken Raiders. But the villagers and the Tusken Raiders have a feud going. So it's kind of hard for them to accept the deal. But eventually, of course, they have to because it's going to benefit both groups.
Exactly. The villagers really didn't have a choice but to work with the Tusken Raiders because the Tusken Raiders kind of know the ins and outs of how Dragon lives.
Yeah. I remember they mentioned something that was interesting where they mentioned how the Krayt Dragon killed a basilisk. And this is kind of hinting, towards the end of the show. But it also kind of hints with Boba Fett's armor how the Jawas found it because Boba Fett fell into a basilisk pit, and Krayt Dragon. That's probably the same basilisk pit that the Krayt Dragon ate. So it's a pretty cool nod to that.
Most likely. Which when I saw that, it just kind of made me question as like how actually Boba Fett survived and lost his armor.
Yeah, I remember Vince sent me a message like after the episode. He's like, wait, but I don't understand how that could have happened. And also because I think is the inside of the Krayt Dragon like really acidic? Or is that the basilisk pit? Like which one is very acidic?
I mean, it should be the dragon, because in the episode you could have seen that when he spits the stomach fluid, it literally disintegrates some of the people.
Yeah, that's true. That part was gruesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they pretty much make a plan to, because the Krayt Dragon, its armor is very weak on its belly.
Yeah.
So they have to lure it out. And in order to lure it out, they have to put like it looks like an ox buffalo thing as an offering.
Yeah.
And they hide explosives underneath it in order to blow it up. But of course, that's not strong enough to kill a Krayt Dragon.
Eventually, Mando had to go inside.
So then this also
near.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Well, near the Krayt Dragon, and throw the bombs inside the Krayt Dragon.
Okay, so then after they kill the Krayt Dragon, the Tusken Raiders are going through the meat, and they find a pearl. And this was an Easter egg that I saw some people on, like some YouTubers I watched mention. Super rare and very expensive. And then after, everything's done, the Marshal gives Boba Fett... what? The Marshal gives Mando Boba Fett's armor, as they agreed.
Yes.
And then, there's a long pan of Mando on a speeder. And then you see like a figure just standing there watching him. And it's revealed that it's actually Boba Fett himself. So he is alive.
Yeah.
So I kind of like how this... Yeah?
Yeah, continue, sorry.
Okay. I like how this whole episode was kind of just hinting at ways to prove that Boba Fett is still alive without actually, telling everyone that he's alive, unless you didn't recognize his face at the end. Which, when I saw him, I was like, this guy looks familiar. And then I realized, like, oh, snap, that's Boba Fett himself.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't really know, it was a very big hint that it could have been Boba Fett.
Yeah. Like, some people were saying how this episode was kind of a filler episode, but the good thing is that later down the road, it proves that this wasn't. Because I know in season 1, people were saying that a lot of the episodes weren't really going anywhere. But I felt this one was a good way to introduce the new season without like jumping straight to the next what's it called? Instead of jumping straight into like a drastic situation.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I can see why people would say this is a filler, but at the same time, filler or not, it was quite important because it kind of showed and hinted Boba Fett would be coming to the series.
Yeah.
Especially with at the ending scene showing a figure that you might suspect to be Boba Fett, as well as the Marshal wearing the Boba Fett armor. I see it as less of a filler, as more of like a kind of hinting introduction of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I agree. So now we are on to episode 2, The Passenger, which I'm going to have Vince explain.
Yeah. Talking about fillers.
Mm-hmm.
This one I feel was more of a filler rather than the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this one, it was like, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, it was a nice episode, but compared to all the other episodes, it didn't really intrigue me. I didn't really care much about it. Yeah, it was like, there were like the return of, if you grew up with the original Star Wars trilogy, there was the theme of the X-Wing and the rebels and such, but at the end of the day, didn't really matter much.
Yeah, I feel like this
in my
episode was made as just like exposition in order to set up episode 3. That's the whole reason of it was.
Yeah, I feel like it's also just trying to prolong what will happen in the further episodes, especially with the damaged ship that Mando had to make some stops, of course had to crash somewhere as usual, can never arrive one place directly. So this definitely felt more of a filler. Definitely.
Yeah. So just let's just explain, a little brief synopsis of what happened and little Easter eggs that show up.
This is where I made the mistake in the well, it was a misconception, let's put it that way. In this episode, let's say the lady kind of tells Mando which planet to go, I presume.
Yeah.
No? Or is no that yeah. And while on their way, there's this frog lady they have to accompany. Obviously, something wrong has to happen, like something doesn't go his way, meaning can't use hypers. What was it? The hyperdrive? What was it called?
What?
Yeah.
Hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive. Hyperjump. Sorry.
Hyperjump. Yeah.
To travel. Obviously, they encounter X-wing pilots that will cause a problem to them. So in the beginning of the episode, they kind of get hunted by this X-wing, so they have to go to this ice planet, and obviously they encounter some problems with fighters, and eventually the X-wing fighters kind of save them.
Yeah, and the reason why they save them is because Mando saved someone from season 1, so they kind of just resolved his crimes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This episode was it was interesting, but it's the weaker of all the episodes of the season.
Yeah, I think if I have to say, the most entertaining part about this episode was Baby Yoda eating the eggs.
Oh my gosh, eating the eggs like a monster.
Yeah, it's also like devouring them.
Yeah, and what's also messed up is later we realize that that Baby Yoda has always been able to understand Mando, so he knew what he was saying.
Yeah.
Like, these are babies, like these are unborn children, and he just eats them. He's like, I don't care, I'm hungry.
I mean, I don't know what to say. It's kind of messed up.
After the passenger, which we both agree, which is one of the weaker episodes of this season, then we go to pretty much what this episode was trying to set up, is episode 3.
Yeah.
Harris. So he lands on the planet that the frog lady told him to go to, which is Trask, where she finally meets up with her husband, and they can finally fertilize the eggs. So he heads to a bar to talk to a fisherman about have they seen Mandalorians anywhere. He says that they have, and he goes on their ship. This is where you can kind of feel something's going off, like kind of feels off. And then that's when the fisherman knocks Baby Yoda into the water tank with like some monster or some creature that's in the water. And everyone, like, when I first saw that part, I was like, yo, that is just disrespectful.
Yeah, it's like, man, that's screwed up.
Yeah, I did not expect that, especially when you hear
a baby into a.
I know, when you hear Baby Yoda scream. I was like, what? Yeah. And then, of course, Mando, he goes down to try to save him. And this is when, like, it's super cool, where 3 Mandalorians just appear out of nowhere. And when I was watching this episode, I saw the armor, and I was like, this armor looks familiar. I've seen it somewhere. And that's when you find out it's Bo-Katan from the Clone Wars. So if you've seen the Clone Wars,
exactly.
And if you've also seen Rebels, you know Bo-Katan is. And this was really big reveal for us fans of those animated shows.
Yeah, you could definitely see like structure and the color scheme of the armor was most identical to the one of the Clone Wars and the Rebels.
And I believe it's the same actress too that voiced her in the show is playing her in this one.
Well, it definitely sounds like her, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's just like a perfect like copy and paste of her character, which is like fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
So then they appear, and this is when we find out some new lore about the Mandalorians, because when you've watched the Mandalorian and also you've seen the Clone Wars, there's a lot of questions of the fans going on where they're saying how Mando was saying how you can't take your helmet off because it goes against the creed or like the Brotherhood. I don't know what they say. But then people who've seen the Clone Wars were questioning, these Mandalorians always take out their helmets when they're talking to Obi-Wan and Anakin, and we were kind of confused about like what's going on. And then this is when we find out that Bo-Katan says that, oh, these are the new Mandalorians. Like they have a new, not a new set way, but it's kind of like the old ways of the Mandalorians and how they thought.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like the new generation of Mandalorians.
yeah, they wanted to, a new generation of Mandalorians that want to take up the old ways. I think that's what is stated, because we know that Bo-Katan is part of the Mandalorian group Death Watch.
From what I remember, Death Watch was like a kind of revolt against the Mandalorians.
Yeah, they were, because there was a big war between like the Mandalorian Civil War. It was between like Death Watch and another faction, but then eventually Death Watch itself broke apart into two different factions again.
Well, Death Watch broke apart because of Darth Maul winning the duel.
Yeah. If you guys want to know, watch the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because there's a lot of information about the history between Mandalore, and it's just, that's a whole other video that takes forever to explain. But then after this cool introduction about the history of the Mandalorians, so anyways, Bo-Katan tells Mando that she needs help raiding a ship because she wants to know where Moff Gideon is. So, they go on the ship. Really super cool to see other Mandalorians fight and how they're all pretty much trained in the same way with how well they are with their pistols and their other gadgets that they have. So it's a really cool scene that I liked seeing that Mando's not the only one that's a really good fighter. There's others that can go against him. Mm-hmm. And then once they find out that Moff Gideon isn't there and the captain, he kills himself, Bo-Katan, she pretty much shares to Mando that if he wants to find a Jedi, she needs to go to the planet Corvus. And this is when there's another big reveal where she says that she'll find Ahsoka Tano. And Ahsoka Tano is honestly one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars series. And this was just awesome to hear because it was like a big surprise. There was a lot of rumors hinting that, Ahsoka's going to be in season 2, but this just confirmed everything.
Exactly. When I heard that name, I said, okay, this got me very excited, but at the same time, I was quite nervous that they wouldn't do the character justice, because if I have to be truthfully honest, Disney did not do well with a lot of the new Star Wars thing.
Yeah, the new Star Wars is so bad. If you guys want to know my opinion on how I hate the new Star Wars movies, watch episode 2 of my podcast. Another good thing to watch that episode is that I explain a lot of information about the Clone Wars and Rebels, which will help with your knowledge with the Mandalorian as well. Because the cool thing why I'm kind of excited, I was excited to hear about Ahsoka, was because I know that Dave Filoni, the same director and person who pretty much created her, was going to direct the episode that she was going to appear in. So I had high hopes that he would try to get her as close as possible, even with Disney's influence on, the creativity decisions.
Yeah, I mean, from the input, from what we've seen in The Mandalorian, you could see that there's not that big of a Disney impact compared to the movies.
Yeah. Now to episode 4, The Siege. Vince, take it away.
Yeah. So episode 4, pretty much Mando and Baby Yoda go back to Navarro as well. They return because the first time they went was the first season, and they get their ship finally repaired. And he also meets 2 other returning characters, Cara Dune and Grief Guard, go on a quest to destroy what they presume was abandoned outpost, which obviously it wasn't. And then there's this whole attack of the stormtroopers and the 3 characters. During this fight, they find would you say like a room that was with this kind of weird tubes that we presume were they were cloning some specimens?
Yeah, it was like the room was kind of weird because it looked like a front desk room. It looked kind of like a reception room, but there's windows with you could see like tubes filled with some substance. People are speculating that it's Snoke's clones that are in there, but we're not really sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then in the same room where they see the tube, there was also a computer, and we kind of find out what the Empire was trying to do with Baby Yoda's blood.
Yeah.
So later on, after destroying the outpost, there's the chase between them and the TIE fighters.
After this, a cool thing also to mention was that this character that we saw in episode 1 of season 1, there was a bounty that Mando was going after, and this guy who's like blue, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is I like how they brought him back, so he wasn't just a random character. They actually brought him back, and he was useful in this because he's the one that hacked into the computers, and also was the one that activated the self-destruct on the outpost.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I gotta say that is one thing that I like also about the Mandalorian series is that they try to bring back recurring characters rather than just giving them a cameo and then leave it to that.
Yeah, similar to like some animes when they have a random filler episode and a really cool character, and they're never shown or mentioned ever again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much that's the end of episode 4. Episode 4 was it was good. I enjoyed it, but I think it was because like this season also the length of the episodes were pretty. I felt like they were shorter than the ones in season 1.
Yeah, I could see that. In a way, I could see that. Yeah.
I don't know if they made them shorter or it was just, we're so absorbed with the episode that it feels really short.
I have a feeling it felt more shorter because from what I remember was most of the episodes were like 45 minutes more or less.
Yeah. Because I remember them being like 45 minutes, but I think this episode, because there's like 1 or 2 episodes this season that were like 30 minutes, I believe.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, there were some episodes that were 30 minutes.
So I believe this is one of the shorter ones because not a lot happened. The one information that was very relevant to, the story was when they found cloning tubes and then the hologram explaining they need Baby Yoda's blood. Other than that, it was more of a bringing back these characters that we know from season 1 and then going on a little adventure. The episode 5, which is one of my favorite episodes.
It is my favorite episode.
So with episode 5, The Jedi, like we see a forest, there's a lot of fog, you can't really see what's going on, there's some soldiers walking around, and they're just getting taken out one by one. And what we see are white lightsabers. These are the same white lightsabers that Ahsoka had in Rebels. And in Rebels was the first time you actually see these white lightsabers after years of her being gone, because Ahsoka used to use 2 green lightsabers in the Clone Wars, and then when she left the Jedi temple, or like not that the Jedi way or whatever, and this was super cool, and I'm glad that Dave Filoni was in charge of this episode because he knows Ahsoka better than anyone, and it was just awesome when you actually reveal Ahsoka, like we see Ahsoka, and she looks so good in this episode.
Oh, they did her justice. I will say that they did her very well.
So then after we find out it's Ahsoka, and everyone, all the fans are super excited that she's finally revealed, Mando lands on Corvus, and he finds a colony. They let him in because they think he's just a bounty hunter because Mandalorian armor, and Mandalorians have been known throughout history that they can kill Jedis. So we find out that the colony is taken over by the Magistrate, who we don't have that much info on, but she has a Beskar spear, like a spear made of pure Beskar metal, and she offers it to Mando in exchange that he kills the Jedi. The good thing is that she doesn't know is that Mando is trying to find this Jedi anyway, so this is like a perfect opportunity for him to take. So then once Mando goes out to try to find Ahsoka, they have a cool little battle. This is just showing how that Ahsoka is still super powerful, and it also shows how Mandalorians do have training to fight against a Jedi, and also because since Mando's armor is pure Beskar, it's just awesome to see the lightsaber reflect off of his arm guards.
Yes.
And then after the little fight, Mando explains that Bo-Katan sent him, and if you guys didn't know already, that Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, they've worked together and fought together in the Clone Wars, so they're very well acquainted with each other. Also, Ahsoka reveals that she can communicate with Grogu through the Force, and she reveals, this is when we get a big reveal that Baby Yoda is actually named Grogu, and when it was first said to me, if you have seen American Dad, it reminded me of Roger's a spawn named Rogu, and
oh god,
to me it made me like kind of hate his name a little bit because it was just funny. Like I always just pictured this weird little alien thing showing up, but I'll try to separate the names for now.
I mean, to be fair, I was in a way a little bit disappointed that they chose his name because I liked the name Baby Yoda for so long now that we have to call him with his actual name.
All right, I kind of wish they picked a cooler name. Like
yeah.
Like...
Grogu doesn't sound nice for a cute character like him. Doesn't give him justice.
I don't know. Like Grogu sounds more like something like a Jabba the Hutt like cousin or something.
Yeah. I could see it. One of those species, Grogu. Yeah.
But another cool the good thing I like about this episode is this explores a lot about Grogu's past. And Ahsoka mentions how he was actually in the temple during Order 66, but he survived. So in episode 3, when we see Anakin slaughtering all those children, we're lucky to know that Grogu was one of them, like one of the kids to actually make it out alive. And because of this whole ordeal that's been going on and the killing of all the Jedi, Grogu hid his Force powers for years, so he wasn't a target. And she mentions that she can't train him because one reason is because he's held his Force powers for so long, and because of all his dark experiences that he's seen and witnessed, and also with his deep connection with Mando, that if something goes wrong, he could go to the dark side. And this is kind of hinting also with how I don't think Ahsoka knows about. There's also hinting how when Ahsoka finds out about Anakin, being Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a cool little nod to that. She's afraid that she'll be the cause of Grogu going to the dark side, and she doesn't want that to happen again.
Is she afraid that by training Grogu, it might lead him the same way that Anakin did? Yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you for explaining that in a better way than I did.
No worries. That's why I'm here, buddy. That's why I'm here.
And then so then after this whole exchange, they kind of practice a little bit with cute little moment where Mando has the little ball from the I'm just gonna say the gear shift for the ship, and Grogu's able to use the Force to catch it, and it was a really nice bonding moment between them. And then Ahsoka and Mando go to the colony to fight the magistrate and free the people from their control. And this is when we get a really out of the blue. She asks him where Grand Admiral Thrawn is located, and this is one of the biggest villains in Rebels, where Ahsoka is trying to find Ezra, who is another Jedi during this time period. And many fans, even when I saw this, when I heard that, I was like, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm like, what? This has nothing to do with the story. But it was a little nod, but also it's also hinting at the spinoff for her show. So I'm really glad that we know where that spinoff is going to lead to, and that Rebels isn't just going to end with nothing.
Yeah, with that name mentioned, it made me question of if it shows in the future Grand Admiral Thrawn, they must put as well Ezra then.
Yeah, they have to. A lot of people are confused on when this takes place because in Rebels, Ahsoka and Sabine go off to try to find Grand Admiral Thrawn in order to find Ezra. But then at the very end of Rebels, there's an after credit scene where it shows Ahsoka and Sabine, but Ahsoka looks a lot different. She's wearing a white robe, and they're about to find Ezra, I believe. So this episode takes place during this time skip between the end of Rebels and the after credit scene of the show. I'll put up images so it's less confusing, so people have a better idea of what I'm trying to explain.
Well, of course, I always presumed that the Mandalorian kind of took place after episode 6 and before the new
episode 7.
Yeah. But to pinpoint exactly where, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we have no idea. Well, we have a vague idea because this is later, episode 8. We have a better idea of when this is. It's probably, it could be maybe 10, not 10 years, probably less than 10 years after episode 6.
Well, I would even say that in episode 6 we kind of understand kind of more clearly where it is, where it kind of takes place then.
Yeah.
Especially in episode 6.
All right, so then after, Ahsoka asks where Grand Admiral Thrawn is, Mando beats the magistrate's, right-hand man. They free the people, and Ahsoka gives him the Beskar spear. And then right after that, she explains to him that he needs to go to a planet called Tython, or Tython? I think it's Tython. And he needs to find the Seeing Stone. What was it?
I said sure, Tython. Yeah, sure.
It's all the same. And he needs to find the Seeing Stone and have Grogu sit on top of it and use his Force powers to contact a Jedi.
Yeah.
And and then this is the whole big theory, when fans start to speculate, oh, what Jedi is he gonna contact?
Who is it gonna be? Which one? Blah 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 blah. Yep. With the speculation of many which Jedi he's gonna contact, one of the things that I found that was really interesting was the Jedi from the game The Force Awakens.
Oh yes, I was just about to bring that up. Oh, you mean The Force Unleashed, not The Force Awakens?
Was it Force Unleashed? The new
Force
game.
Unleashed. The Force Awakens, the new game? Oh, you mean Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, Fallen Order, sorry. That was what I thought the Jedi was gonna be, because in a way it kind of makes sense, because in that period I would have presumed Luke will be a bit too old, Yoda is not there anymore, and presuming the only two Jedis we know of existence would be the one from from the
Mhm.
new game and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Wait, did you mention Mace Windu or no?
Well, the thing is, with Mace Windu, there's many speculations, but we wouldn't know because the only thing that we know is that he fell down.
Yeah, because there's people saying he's dead, but there was an interview with George Lucas at one point saying that no, Mace isn't actually dead. So there's a big I'm still hoping he's alive because there was a lot of lore saying that he was like super strong and he actually knew where he had a balance between the dark and the light side of the force. So
in a way, I hoped it wasn't him because I would want to see a lone kind of Mace Windu kind of story of how he actually survived, rather than just putting him out there. And I was like, how did he survive? Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it would tease the fans too much. That's what I was
that's true.
saying.
Another Jedi that I was hoping, but of course, they don't exist anymore. Is because the Force Unleashed games, because we have the Jedi from Jedi Fallen Order, but the Force Unleashed games, which takes place between episode 5 and 6, there was a Jedi Master named Coda who's still alive, but I knew they would never do this. But I was just like, maybe like a fan like story was that he could come by, because in that game, the Force Unleashed, they had a lot of like Jedis who were hiding still after Order 66, and it was such a cool story where they could have explored that and used that lore within like these new stories.
But would you think that, especially what the Jedi's named Coda,
yeah,
would you think that he would actually still be alive during that time period?
I think so, yeah, because the end of Star Wars Unleashed 2 was probably a year before Episode 6. So, and he was probably like in his 50s. So by the time of the Mandalorian, he could be, in his 60s.
Well, then again, with Star Wars, you cannot know what type of species they are, because let's be honest, some of them that we think that a human may be advanced humans that can live up to 300 years.
Yeah, that's also if like the whole thing with Bo-Katan, people are like, wait, she didn't age at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
who really knows?
We don't know.
We kind of got off track with that, but
yeah.
With all right, now Vince will talk to us about episode 6, the tragedy.
Okay, episode 6 is probably another favorite of this season for me. In this episode, Mando and Grogu, they finally arrive to the planet where Ahsoka Tano told them to find the Seeing Stone. And when Grogu gets to the Seeing Stone, he connects, let's say, quite strongly with the Force. And in this episode, another important thing was we finally get to see Boba Fett. Fennec Shan, who is kind of Boba Fett's right-hand man, who Boba Fett kind of rescued, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he saved her from, because we thought she died in season 1, but because I remember season 1 there was like a after credits scene where someone was walking towards her body, and now we know
that's what I remember
Fett.
as well.
Yeah, and also if you guys didn't know, Fennec Shan she plays Agent Melinda May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she's actually like an actor that I really like, and I'm glad that she was in season 1 and they didn't just kill her character off right away. So
I was, to be honest, in the first season when I saw her, I was very, very surprised to see her in Star Wars.
really, because Agents of Shield is owned by Disney, so Disney and Disney.
True, but I just didn't really see her fitting into the Star Wars franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
Because when we see Melinda May in Agents of Shield, she's more like this kind of badass that knows a lot of kind of martial arts kind of person.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas in Star Wars, it's like, okay, it's all about lightsaber and shooting. It's like, where could you fit the Melinda May kind of perspective there?
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I actually really enjoyed her character in The Mandalorian. Going back to the episode, so in this episode, we finally see Boba Fett, but without his armor, and we also see 2 ships filled with stormtroopers trying to get Grogu,
Mm-hmm.
and with not Mando, Fennec and Boba Fett trying to easily destroying the stormtroopers, whereas Mando literally tries to take Grogu out of the Force and pretty much destroyed by the Force.
Yeah, he gets yeeted off to the side of the cliff.
He gets wrecked. He gets wrecked twice. Later on, we also see that Boba Fett goes into the ship of Mando and recovers his armor, and also then single-handles the stormtroopers.
The scene was so cool when he just shows up and just destroys them all. Also, something that caught me off guard was like I didn't know he had rockets in his knee, like the kneecap armor. Like
that's what I was about to say. I was very surprised that he had mini rockets in his knee pad.
Yeah.
in the original trilogy or in the second trilogy with his father, because the armor is from his father, it has never been mentioned that he had rockets in his knee pad. Boba Fett kind of destroys the 2 ships trying to escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rock. And after that, later on, we can see it like, what was it? 4 Dark Troopers trying to kidnap Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, the Imperial ship destroys Mando's spacecraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And within this time, we also see that Boba Fett goes into his classical ship and sees who's up there, and he says the line that they're back, which in my opinion is kind of hinting, even though the Empire by now is already long gone, it is hinting about the First Order that is about to come. And then later on, we can see that Boba Fett kind of proves to Mando that his armor, he is the rightful owner of the armor.
Yeah, this part was cool because it brings up Jango Fett from the sequels, and it also it just shows how, because Mando in the beginning, he was, when Boba Fett first came asking I want my armor back, but Mando was saying you're not a Mandalorian because a Mandalorian would never abandon their armor in the first place. But then once he gets it, he shows this cool hologram that has ancient writings on it that shows the lineage of their family and the generations, and how this is my father's armor and now it's my armor. And Mando accepts it. He's like, yeah, and he also sees how he uses it, so he knows that only a Mandalorian could use their armor like that.
Also with the lineage, it also can see that Boba Fett's father fought in the Mandalorian Civil War.
Oh yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So he agrees. So Mando agrees for Boba Fett to keep his armor because he is the rightful owner.
Boba says that he'll help him recover Grogu because also Mando doesn't have a ship because it got blown up, and he needs a way out of the planet.
Which this made me like, in a way, a bit confused. Because yes, in a way, Boba Fett is, in a way, kind of a Mandalorian if you think
Mhm.
about it. However, especially in the movies, you wouldn't expect Boba Fett to have this kind of honorary code.
Yeah, that's true. I think
So
it's
I was like,
since I think it's just throughout the years of him, after the thing that happened with the Basilisk's Pit and the Empire, that after those years he probably calmed down a bit, most likely. And I think also, I don't remember, but I think another reason why he actually worked with the Empire is because he was kind of scared of Darth Vader and Sidious. So
yeah, no, I totally understand what you're trying to say, but what I was trying to see the difference is that with the original trilogy, you don't see this kind of code from Boba Fett. You just kind of see him as like, okay, he's just a bounty hunter who's just earning some money.
yeah.
Whereas here, you can see, oh, he is actually trying to help a fellow Mandalorian. So in a way, he kind of believes as well as in the Mandalorian code,
Yeah, I
despite
think the
removing
movies.
the armor, etc.
Yeah, they didn't really show that much about him, but I know in the comics, of course, because comics always express more, that there's a lot of stories showing that that Boba Fett actually does have like a code. Because there's this one comic where he finds out that he has like a half brother, and since
Oh, really?
his father, huh?
I did not know he had a half brother.
Yes. So there's this story, this comic that came out. I don't know when, but I saw a video on it that Jango Fett, impregnated this woman on some planet, and Jango Fett found out that he had a son, like an actual son, not a clone like Boba Fett is. So he had like he had an actual son with this woman, and he set up like some of his funding to be sent to the son, and then Boba Fett finds out about his half brother because on this planet that he's visiting, people mention that he finds that someone else has the same face, and then since he finds out that he has a half brother, that he's like, if my father was trying so hard to protect this guy, then I'll have to follow because he wants to follow his father's legacy and make sure that what he does is right, I guess, between the Mandalorian code. So yeah, he like protects him in the comic and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. See. It's like more than one, so it's just a lot of information. Now we are into episode 7, The Believer. Grogu is gone, taken hostage. So Mando, they go back to Navarro and tell Cara Dune that the child was taken, and of course she's gonna help. So, but in order for that, Mando needs the help of Miggs Mayfield. They need him in order to find Gideon's ship location. So once they find this this hidden base where they're transporting, I don't know, what is that, like an explosive material in the Star Wars universe? Not plutonium.
Yeah, yeah, some kind of very explosive element, I presume, that the pirates are also trying to destroy.
But they need to infiltrate the base. They're trying to figure out who's gonna go in as pretend to be a stormtrooper. So Melinda May, okay, sorry, not Melinda May, but the sniper, Fennec, yes, she says that she can't go in because she's an ex-Imperial sniper, and because they'll recognize her face will be registered, because for the terminal you have to have your face scanned, And anyone who is part of the Republic or who used to be part of the Empire will be like red lit right away. The alarms will go off like right away. So Fennec cannot go because she used to be part of the Empire. Cara Dune can't because now she's part of the Republic. And Boba says that they will recognize his face. And I like how this is nodding to how, well, all the clones had the same face as him. And people will recognize him right away because they're technically, I think they're still clones that are still around during this time, but they're just more actual humans as stormtroopers. But also because, you know, Boba's face is most likely super recognized throughout the galaxy because of Jango and all the clones as well, that
almost definitely
everyone will know who he is right when he shows up. And also, the reason why I say that there are still clones alive today is that in Rebels, there's an episode where Rex and all these other clone troopers from the Clone Wars were still alive. They're just really old, and they still have their armor and everything.
Rex, Wolf, and someone that I don't remember.
Someone else. I don't remember his name either. But yeah, so then it's agreed that Mando and Migs has to infiltrate. They have to throw it on the stormtrooper armor and go. So, you know, they're driving this cargo ship, but they get attacked by pirates. And this was a really cool scene because it shows that, one, it showed that Mando is so used to his Beskar armor being pretty much impenetrable that when his armor gets cracked, he's like kind of surprised. But it also shows that even without his armor, he's very like great fighter and combatant, and he can pretty much just 1v1 almost anyone.
Yeah.
So then after this, they finally, you know, they arrive, they get the cargo ship, everyone's happy, and Migs says that he can't go to the terminal, and Mando's like, dude, why not? Like, this was your idea. What's happening now? It's because there is an officer there that he worked on, like when he used to be part of the Empire, he worked under this specific officer, and he's afraid that the officer will recognize his face. So Mando's decides, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go and do it myself. He tries to use a terminal with the helmet on, but of course it doesn't work that way because you need to have, you know, it has to show your face. And this shows a big improvement with Mando's character where in order to save Grogu, he's willing to expose himself. So he takes off his helmet and it scans his face and it works. He finds the location of the ship, Gideon ship. And this is when the officer interrupts. And this is where we think, you know, the whole plan's going to go to shit and they're about to get caught. But Migs comes in and, you know, uses the Empire lingo and kind of gets them through it. The officer likes them. They sit down and he mentions Operation Cinder, which Migs was at. He was in the operation during this time.
He was part of it. He was
there for part of it. Yeah, correct. He was there for part of it. And Vince is going to explain more about Operation Cinder because he has more knowledge about it than I do.
Operation Cinder was also especially mentioned if you played the story of the game Battlefront 2. Operation Cinder was kind of, let's say, a punishment for the Empire when Darth Sidious died.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So pretty much what happened, let's say, battleships destroying planets.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a punishment for them. It's like, oh, Darth Sidious died. You couldn't save your emperor. Therefore, your lives will be taken away from you because you couldn't save the one person that you were supposed to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty much what Operation Cinder was. That is also why, what's his name? Mayfield was kind of upset because he saw a lot of his fellow comrades getting killed during Operation Cinder.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. Because also, like, another good part of that scene when Mayfield is talking to the officer, and the officer, he's all proud about the operation. He's like, you know what, these new, explosive material that you brought us, we're gonna make Operation Cinder seem like it's nothing. And Mayfield, he's getting kind of like PTSD flashbacks. He's like hearing the sounds of the horror that happened, and out of rage, he kills the officer right in front of everyone. And this caused, like, we knew something like this was going to happen, where there's going to be a big firefight, because it's a Mandalorian, it's Star Wars, there has to be a firefight.
Yeah,
and they're
that's
shooting their way out.
I was about. That was what I was about to say, because when you said that things were about to turn to shit, I was about to say, yeah, yes. Mayfield saves just prolongs, let's say, the inevitable.
No, yeah, I can't even say that word either.
Me neither. I struggle with those words.
Okay, so like they're fighting their way out. They get to the roof, and Fennec is just sniping people left to right. Cara Dune is doing her thing that she does, and Boba Fett comes in, like flying in, saves them, picks them up. And a cool thing is that Mayfield, he actually snipes the cargo ships with the explosive materials, and it blows up the base. And I like how, because in season 1 we saw him as kind of more as like a jerk and just a bounty guy who doesn't really care.
Yeah.
He's just doing it for the money. And then this episode really just explored his character depth, showing like what he went through and how he has so much guilt about what happened. And
in this episode we can clearly see like a big development in his character.
Yeah. And I like how they had the opportunity that he, in his way of, fixing what happened in the past, he was able to prevent another Operation Cinder. So that's why he blew up. That's why he blew up the cargo ships, which is really cool. And because of that, Cara Dune lets Mayfield go free. They say that, he was killed during the mission and he was free to go and he can now live his life again.
Yeah. He is like, let's say, kind of pardoned from his crime for helping them.
And then after this happens, we are on Gideon's ship, I believe, and we see Grogu is tossing stormtroopers around with the Force, like just toying with them. And then,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I really can't recall. This could have been also in the end of episode 6, because I don't remember this one, to be honest.
It could have too. I think because it's right after this is. Yeah, you're right. I don't really know. It could be the beginning of episode 8. It could be the end of episode 6 or 7. Correct us if we're wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I really like at the end of this episode is that Moff Gideon gets a message from Mando, like a hologram message, and it is the same exact speech that Gideon told him in season 1, episode 8, discussing the child. And it's so perfect that he recites it back to him, because it's just like it's a big FU to Gideon.
Very much.
It is up to you. You gotta explain the most epic episode out of all of them.
The final episode.
The rescue.
The rescue. So pretty much this episode starts with Mando and Boba Fett finds Bo-Katan, saying that they finally found where Moff Gideon's ship is located. In this episode, if I'm not mistaken, also what's her name? Dune is also there as well.
Yeah, I think she is. She might be there. She went with them, but she's not in the bar.
No, she's not. She's there with them during their quest to save Grogu.
Yeah, I don't think that she's with them in the bar in like the cantina where he finds them.
I don't remember that one. in the bar, Bo-Katan doesn't recognize Boba Fett as a true Mandalore, insults him, and frequently results to Boba Fett and Bo-Katan starting a fight. Finally, Bo-Katan agrees to go with Mando because Moff Gideon has the dark saber, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it means it is the weapon to show that you're the rightful ruler of Mandalore.
Yep. And this is also another a lot of that is explained in Rebels with Bo-Katan and the Darksaber. How she was a princess of Mandalore, but then she received the Darksaber and she became the ruler. So this is kind of going off from where Rebels ended around there. So that's why a lot of people.
Well, also, if I'm not mistaken, also Bo-Katan's sister or something was the queen of Mandalore.
Yeah, the sister was queen, but I believe something happened to her. No, something did happen to her in the Clone Wars. The sister.
Darth Maul kills her in front of Obi-Wan.
Yes, that's what happens. So yeah. Good thing in the disclaimer I'm putting spoilers for all of those 3 shows. But yeah.
You have been warned.
Yep. You can't get mad now. But yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, Darth Maul killed Bo-Katan's sister, who was the queen, and was also Obi-Wan's secret, like not secret, but
secret lover,
but they could never actually be together.
Yeah.
And Bo-Katan ended up getting the Darksaber from Sabine, but we'll explain more about Sabine later. But yeah, she lost the Darksaber from Gideon, and she wants to retrieve it back.
So they infiltrate the ship of Moff Gideon. I think they fight the stormtroopers at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that this scene, with all the female characters fighting the stormtroopers, was 100% way better done than that scene in Infinity War. in Endgame. Yeah. Like, this was way better done than the one in Endgame. So I saw a lot of memes about this.
Yeah.
The part where, because part of the plan when they were discussing how to infiltrate the ship is that the reason the 4 women get out of the ship to fight the stormtroopers is they're acting as a distraction in order for Mando to go off and find the prison cell that's holding Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
So, because if they all came at the same time, then they're afraid that they'll announce that, oh, he's here he's coming after the kid right now. But they want to make it believe that it was a separate party attacking the ship. But of course, Moff Gideon is too smart for that. So
obviously. So this is also the part where Moff Gideon activates Dark Troopers.
Yes.
And they start coming to attack Mando and his group. When Mando sees the Dark Troopers, he opens the airlock, and everyone except for one kind of flies out of the ship, and Mando fights the remaining Star Trooper. However, in the beginning, he is pretty much getting his ass whooped.
Yeah.
But eventually, using his Beskar spear, he stabs the Dark Trooper in the neck, destroying it. Mando finally finds the prison cell where Grogu was kept captive. And we also see that Gideon is there holding Grogu hostage, holding the dark saber as well. What do you mean by this?
What? The thing I wrote?
No, this line. Mando says he doesn't care about that shit and only wants the child.
I'm keeping that in. Okay, because the thing is, Gideon is pretty much, he thinks that Mando's there for the dark saber, but Mando, he doesn't care about the dark saber because that's Bo-Katan's business, and he's only there for, you know, the child.
I see.
Yeah.
So you want me to say it, or do you want to say it?
Say what?
What you just said.
Oh, well, what I said, I'll keep it in. I'm not taking that out.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So after confronting Gideon says that to Mando that he can have the baby, can have Grogu back since they already extracted the blood out of Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gideon attacks Mando with the saber. So later on, there Gideon and Mando fight each other, and eventually Mando beats Gideon with the Beskar spear. Then later, Mando brings Gideon to what I presume is the mother deck,
or the place where, you know, they control the ship. I don't know what it's called. I can't think of the word right now.
Well, sure, whatever it is. And Bo-Katan was quite surprised to see him, and also quite angry to see him, because she wanted to be the person to fight Moff Gideon. So now Gideon explains to Mando that he is now the rightful owner of the dark saber and the rightful owner of Mandalore, but Mando doesn't want to be the ruler and the owner of the dark saber, and he tries to give the dark saber to Bo-Katan, but apparently she cannot accept it since the dark saber has to be won in combat.
Yeah, and that's when it brings a lot of questions and some inconsistencies that happen. Because in Rebels, Sabine was the owner of the dark saber. Why do I keep writing that? The dark saber, and during that, she actually just gave it to Bo-Katan, and they never fought, and she accepted it without any problems, making her the ruler. People are saying that, you know, she already accepted it once. She can't accept it again because she feels guilty that she didn't earn it the correct way. But I don't know, maybe they'll explain that in like a future season.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and also another thing is that in the Clone Wars, Sidious beat Maul, who owned the Darksaber at that moment, but we still see Maul still has ownership of the saber, and he still rules Mandalore. So people are saying, well, you know, if Sidious beat Maul in battle, technically he's supposed to own the Darksaber, but most likely Sidious is keeping Maul in charge for his own plans anyway.
Well, I remember this, especially here, especially in the comic. Sidious takes Maul as a prisoner.
Yeah.
And later on, his Mandalorian followers break him out of captivity.
Yeah, that's true. Because then it picks up with the final season, season 7 of the Clone Wars, especially with the last 4 episodes, I believe, which are, you know, some of the best episodes ever, where it kind of goes over with Maul explaining that he knows that Order 66 is going to happen. Like, he has a feeling that something's gonna happen, and he also knows that Anakin is gonna. He knows Anakin is gonna is a big part of the plan, and he's wants to kill him. So technically, Maul could have saved so many people, but
Yeah.
we won't get into depth with that. But anyways, yeah, it goes back to how Bo-Katan refuses to take the saber, even though in Rebels she took it with no problem, like with ease. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take the dark saber and rule." So that was just like a weird little inconsistency between things that happened in the lore.
Yeah, this was one of the parts that I was a bit confused as well, because it kind of conflicted with Rebel.
Yeah. And because some people out there, they believe that, the TV shows, they kind of think they're obsolete, but they are canon. Like, they are part of the lore. And, one of the directors and other people that worked on the shows have worked on The Mandalorian, so they are canon, just so you people know.
Yeah, that is very true. So after this, we see the Dark Troopers returning to the ship, trying to break into the. Then we see one X-wing arrive, but we don't know who it's from until we see the person using it has a green lightsaber, which we cannot presume is a very big hint. When Moff Gideon sees this, he tries to kill Grogu, but fails since Cara Dune knocks him out. The Jedi also destroys the Dark Trooper with minimal effort, and after the Jedi arrives to the room where Mando and his group are, we find out that the Jedi is Luke Skywalker, and with him is R2D2.
All right, so after R2, we saw R2D2, which is kind of like a cute little thing. He's just doing his weird little thing. Luke then, he sees Grogu. I kind of wish that Luke mentioned that he has familiarity with his race, because Ahsoka, we didn't mention it before, but Ahsoka mentions how she knows about Grogu's race, kind of said it.
Yeah.
I wish Luke kind of nodded oh, whatever. But it might have been too much fan service at that point. But yeah, he explains that that Grogu wants Mando's permission for him to go with him. So this is a really good moment between Grogu and Mando, because Mando takes off his helmet in front of everybody without a second thought. And this is the first time Grogu actually sees Mando's face. And they kind of I'm pretty sure they have a little force connection. He's Grogu is putting his little mental thoughts into his head. Grogu goes with Luke, and it kind of shows that R2D2 is really happy because he sees Grogu. Maybe because he reminds him of Yoda, or maybe he's seen him around the Jedi Temple all those years ago. But they say their final goodbyes. It's such a good, that last scene when they're panning out, showing everyone. It was really nice touch. And then the after credit scene shows up. We're at Jabba's palace, and Bib Fortuna, who is still alive, who was in episode 6, if you guys remember, he was there with Boba Fett when he actually died. Well, quote unquote died. And Boba Fett just kills him right away with no hesitation. And then he takes his place as the new ruler of the underworld. And this is where we get the announcement of the Book of Boba Fett spin-off show, which is super cool. And yeah,
super excited.
And we actually got news that it's going to be a separate show, because a lot of people were speculating, because they said it was going to be released in December of next year. Well, December of 2021. And people were confused because The Mandalorian comes out during that time. So people were speculating that, okay, since it's called The Mandalorian, is now their focus on Boba Fett. But no, it's going to be a completely different show, which is, I'm really glad that it's a different show. So we got a continuation of both.
Yeah. I just hope they choose a good director.
Yeah, of course. So now our thoughts on this final episode of the season. You want to go first?
Sure. Well, for me, this one, how do I explain? It's very, in a way, it was very nostalgic for me because whenever you bring someone like Luke Skywalker or R2D2, it just reminds me of the very first trilogy, which was the very first Star Wars that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I got with this final episode, I absolutely loved it. Bringing back Luke Skywalker, having also the use of the dark saber, Bo-Katan, the final goodbye, what we presume is the final goodbye of Grogu and Mando. So for me, this was a perfect episode and a perfect ending.
Yeah, I agree. It was such, like, it feels like the journey has ended, and it was in a, what's the word, in a satisfying way as well. Yes,
Yeah, I would say it was sad, but it was sweet ending as well.
And the good thing is we do have, there has been this has been confirmed that there is a season 3. So the few questions we have left are still going to be answered, hopefully. And oh my god, I was gonna say all this stuff and I forgot. Oh, something that was kind of funny was after this episode finished, and you see like Grogu goes with Luke, and then people start bringing up, well, now we know Grogu's gonna die because of what happened in like the in the sequels. That freaking that all the Jedi students get killed. But I think one of the directors came out and said that Grogu actually doesn't die during that attack.
Jesus, people are a bit morbid.
Yeah, because when that happened, it's like, oh well, we went through all this journey. Grogu gets killed by like Kylo Christ. And all of them. But then I think the director, I remember seeing somewhere that director said that no, he doesn't die from that thing.
Thank God.
So at least, yeah, because thinking about all this,
my God.
He just gets freaking slaughtered.
I don't think even Disney is that evil.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even they kind of did mention that. Whatever. We don't want to talk about the new movies. Those are garbage.
No.
All right. So yeah, that's Mandalorian season 2. I enjoyed this season a lot, and I love the art direction, the directing, of course. The costumes look amazing, and what I love
the costume of Ahsoka Tano I loved it. That was purely amazing.
Oh yeah, we had the spin-off for Ahsoka's show that was announced. But yeah, like what I also think is so cool about this show is that the backgrounds that they use is a screen. Like it's a real-time what the frick is that called? Real-time rendering screen using Unreal Engine, and it just makes everything so crisp. And it's insane that it's just a screen in the background behind.
I just found that out, like, let's say a month ago, like early December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just so cool how when you rotate the camera, it also the background rotates, and it's just, I think it's perfect for this kind of show because they're able to save money with instead of building huge sets, and they can focus more on the story itself. Yeah.
Well, also one of the reasons why they used this one instead of, for example, a green screen is that what they've said is that with these, let's say, panels, the use of light is very effective, whereas in green screen it limits the amount of creates more effects and is very effective in.
Oh, like it. Okay, I know what you mean. It uses like the lighting is actually more reliable and realistic because it matches. Yeah, that's true because it matches
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, because
Their
in green screen
costumes.
it's kind of limited down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's kind of like because I learned this in Yeah, that's right. I learned this with 3D animation is that HDRIs are used in order for 3D objects to look realistic because it takes the lighting from the image of the environment and it casts it onto the object, making it so that the lightings match each other. So by using that screen, it's a lot easier to actually have the lightings match with the background. Yeah. This has been episode 12, I think. Yeah, episode 12 of Chaotic Bender Podcast. Thank you, Vince, my special guest today, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And I know this episode has come out after a year. A lot of things happened, but most likely Vince will be in
struggling times.
Yeah. Most likely Vince will be in another episode, and who knows what the hell we're going to talk about next. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah.